one of the basics about working with a Pi system is connecting to the data in a Pi system, right? So here I have you over here on the left-hand side, and over on the right I have the Pi system, so that's where all the data is. And how do you actually connect to that Pi system? And once you're connected, how does that Pi system send data back to ProcessBook or PyDataLink or whatever it is you're using? Or maybe you're using any client product, a client meaning something that just asks a server for data. How does this connection happen? And once you are connected, what are you going to find on the Pi system? That's what we're going to cover in this video. So to begin with, I'm going to be showing this with three different programs, basic programs in Pi. And you might not have one of them, and that's okay because I'll show it on the other two. So first thing I'm going to show with, let's see here, Pi System Explorer. Now, System Explorer is a way we work with a Pi AF server, and it's a way we just explore what's on our Pi system, like the name suggests. Once we open it, you don't need to worry about most of this stuff. Just we'll get to it later. All you need to worry about right now is there's this database button. And once we open up the databases, we can see what Pi systems we can connect to. So again, there's Pi systems out there. Well, here's the list of them. So when you put this drop down, these are the available Pi systems that are available. I'm interested in SL3 Pi AF01, so I'm going to click on that. And then below, I have a list of all the different little databases that are available. Each one of these Pi systems is like a realm of data. It's where we've stored a lot of data. You may only have one, and you may only have one Pi database or AF database down here. That's totally okay, totally normal. We just kind of have a lot because we're here at OSIsoft and we do testing. So now what if your Pi system that you're interested in isn't on this list? Well, what you can do is you can add the Pi system. So you can connect to a system that you're not connected to yet. And you do that by pressing this ... And once you're in here, you'll see a list of all the Pi servers that you can connect to. And this is all this dialog is also available in some other programs, and I'll show that in a moment. So right now I'm already connected to SL3 IT Pi AF01, SL3 IT Pi AF01, but I'm going to remove it so I can show what I'm going to show here. So let's say I were to remove this server or the system. So now it's not there anymore. If I wanted to add it, all I need to do is right-click, add an AF server, or you can just click Add AF Server here, and then you're brought to this window where it's like, hey, what Pi system do you want to connect to? So you just put in the name here. I copied and pasted it, and then you press Test the connection, connect to the AF server. And if things are successful, you'll see, all these fields will get filled out, and you can say OK, and look, there it is in your list of systems. Now, one thing I'll point out, I'm going to zoom in a little bit right here. See that little checkmark box there? That checkmark box means this is the default server. So when I connect, this is the system that I want to go look at first. Well, this is not the one I want to use, actually. I want to use this, the one I just added. So I'm going to right-click on it, and I can set it as the default AF server. If you have multiple servers out there, you probably want to set one as a default, whichever one you use. Set as default, say OK. And now we can see this whole list of databases here. All right, now I'm going to show this with two other tools. So with PyDataLink is the plugin to Excel. So it's just another tab on top here. And the way I would connect to different servers is I'll go to Settings, and then I'll look right here. There's a Connection Manager. So Settings, Connection Manager. Click Connection Manager. And I get a very similar box, look at that, where it's the same type of servers on here. You'll see that, and it's still the default. And I can right-click and add an AF server. And I also have the option of adding one of the classic connections, so just to a Pi data archive server. I can do that as well. And so this list includes both of those, Pi systems and Pi servers. And then in ProcessBook, File, we see there's connections and there's Pi systems. If I select Pi systems, I get the same dialog box. Select a database is the same one as I saw in PySystem Explorer. And that's how I would connect to my PySystem. Okay, so that covers how to connect to a PySystem. And one other note, you might get prompted for credentials, but usually if you're not getting in, that's often a sign that something needs to be configured security-wise on the system itself, on the server end of things. So if you can't get in at all, problems are happening, and you're sure that you're spelling the name right, contact your Pi administrator, and you could probably work out the security with them. Maybe they need to build something called a Pi Trust on the Pi system. Maybe they need to build a Pi identity that is linked to you so that your Windows credentials are recognized when you log on to the Pi system. All that's possible. And if you just can't get on, work it out with your Pi administrator. They'll be able to set you right. Okay, now we're going to look at how to search for Pi assets. Once we're on this Pi system, how do we actually find things and what is there to find? So again, I'm going to open up PySystem Explorer. And now I'm in the database learning videos. And I'm actually going to go to this element here called New Green. So really quick tour, and we'll talk more about this in other videos. But this is an organization of a facility. A facility, maybe a company called New Green, and it has different sites across the country. And in each site, there's different processes. And in different processes, there's sets of equipment. And look, this equipment takes boilers. This is a boiler. Takes cooling fans. There's heaters. And it's all organized into a tree, which is pretty easy, or it's human friendly to search. But what if this was a really big tree and I wanted to find something in it? Well, we have this, which is called a way to search for elements. So if I have New Green selected, I could search for something like B, everything that starts with B dash. If I press enter, I'll get the results. The results here in this window. I'll also get the results here on the left-hand side, and it'll show me which elements match this name. And I can see they all match. These all match here, and I can see they're coming from two things called templates. Templates are the type of thing this is. So I have a whole set of boilers. These are all boilers, and they're just different copies of it. That's all. I own something like a dozen boilers. And here's a different type of boiler, an oil and gas boiler. And that's what the search reveals right there. I can also search, for instance, in PyDataLink. And search the same area for the same thing. And we can see that the search came back with all the items that had B in it. Now, the DataLink search also did something more. It actually searched for attributes. And there's another video that in which we distinguish between elements and assets, assets, and attributes. What we're seeing here are the attributes. So the DataLink search actually shows a lot more here. Attributes are descriptions of the asset. So you see in PySystem Explorer, we only were returning the B-334, the assets. But here we also have fuel target, installation date, all the attributes. And that's because DataLink is concerned with showing numbers, and only those attributes have numbers, not the assets themselves. Okay, and similarly in Process Book, I can search for items as well, but that requires usually building a new display file. And then we can add a value, and we'll search for assets in the same way. We can go through on the tree structure in AF, or we can actually search for attributes. Okay, now we're going to talk about attribute search right now, because just to give it a good starting point. Now, what we searched for in PySystem Explorer right here was we searched for assets. We searched for different boilers, and we got them. These are just a piece of equipment or a thing that we own or a thing that we're interested in that we have in our Pi system. Now, to describe it, and in order to show like a graph of something or a chart of numbers, we need to actually have something that has numbers to it. Boiler or tank does not have numbers. That's just like that's an item. But maybe the boiler's temperature, that has numbers, or the boiler's feed rate, that has numbers. So that gets into what an attribute is. An attribute is something that describes an element. Also, when we say element, we mean asset. So an attribute is something that describes an asset. If we click attribute search, we can now search for all the different attributes. Now, this gets a bit more complicated because now all the attributes are attributes of an element. So really, this search is kind of two searches in one. It's a search for an element, and then it's a search for an attribute. So there's a lot of options here. But we're going to sort it out to keep it pretty clear for you. The first thing that you want to know is when I'm searching, I want to know first off, what kind of element am I searching for? So let's say I'm interested in this boiler. I'm interested in one of these items. Well, start off with what kind of element are you interested in? Well, I'm interested in a boiler. So I'm going to click my template and I'm going to select boiler. And the boiler is the type of element that we're looking for, the type of asset that we're looking for. You can see it right there. Now when I search, let's see here, I'm going to specify the search route to be right there. And I'm going to search all the sub-elements because I want it to search everything within New Green, that company. And if I search, I get all the attributes that match that are for every boiler. So it's a lot of assets. Now, if I want to be a little bit more specific, let's say that there's a certain element I'm interested in. So I know I'm looking for boiler 117. So I'm looking for the attributes for boiler 117. So B-117. Oops, 117. There we go. And if I search, now I get assets. Let me expand this a little bit. Specifically for boiler 117. Okay. I don't know if I'm going to be able to show. Yep, there it is. Oh, barely. There it is. Boiler 117. And here's the different names of the different attributes that are found for that. So there's an installation date, there's a water level, there's a fuel savings, there's all these kinds of neat attributes for this boiler. And if I wanted to, let's say when I was searching, I already knew I was interested in installation dates. Well, I could also search for that up here. So attribute name, installation date. And when I search, I'll get just that attribute back. See? Okay, well, let's change it around a little bit. Let's say we wanted to search for all the attributes named installation date. So I wanted to know all the installation dates of my boilers. So of all my boilers, what are their installation dates? Well, I could just search for the attribute name installation date, but search for any boiler here. So now I've eliminated any restriction on what the name of the boiler is. And when I search, I'll get back all the attributes that are installation dates for all of my boilers. I'm going to expand this a bit so we can see it, but all the different boilers I have, you can see their names here. One other thing you'll want to know about searching is wildcards are permitted. So if I were to search just installation, or let's see, if I were to search date, nothing comes up. But if I put an asterisk at the front here, so I put asterisk, and I search installation date, will now come up. So an asterisk is a wildcard, and it means, I'm going to zoom in here, it means anything is allowed before this. So it's anything date is allowed. And similarly, I can put one afterwards, and I'll get the same result, but I want to show something new. Installation. Now, if I just search installation, I don't get anything either. So now I need to put an asterisk afterwards and search, and I'll get all those items to come out. So that's searching for attributes, and this process is very similar in other programs as well. So PyDataLink or PyProcessBook, the same fundamentals apply. What element are you looking for? Do you know the name of the attribute that you're looking for? Okay, you can put that in. If not, don't worry about it. And you can browse around. So you have two ways of finding attributes really in the Pi system. You can know the name and you can search for it, or you can simply know where it is in your tree. So I know it's an extruding process, and you can drill down till you find that attribute. So you have two options for how to find attributes in the Pi system. Go through the tree or search directly. All right, now the thing I want to show you about connecting with a Pi system is, how do I search for Pi tags directly? So Pi tags are the special way we store real-time data, and it's the classic way of, it's a classic fundamental of the Pi system. And in Pi System Explorer, I can go to Edit, Tag Search, and I can get to a tag search, and I can search a Pi server, so a Pi data archive server, directly for its Pi tags. So this sort of bypasses Pi AF and goes directly to the Pi tags. It's the older way of searching for data in the Pi system. But if I have a certain Pi tag that I know I'm interested in, sinusoid, I can search for it here. And all the tags that have sinusoid in it will come up. Or if I have a CDT, I can search for that as well. So here, CDT158, I can search CDT star and get it to come back. If I wanted to search for more restrictive, some attributes of that tag, for instance, maybe the point source. If I know the point source of all the tags I'm interested in is R, I could search for R. Now, point source indicates usually what's the source of data for this tag. Maybe it's a random interface, maybe it's an OPC server. And this is all configured by your Pi administrator, what the point source is. If I search, I'll get back all the tags that use point source R. You can see right there. I could also search for all the tags that are of floating point type and get those. So this is point source R and data type float. Now that's tag searching. We can also do that on a PyProcessBook display. If I add a value, I can search for a tag by clicking tag search, and I'll be doing a tag search in much the same way. Now this dialog looks a bit different, but all the things are the same. It's tag mask, that's the name. Point source, that's the same. Point type, that's what we just talked about, floating point perhaps. So float 32, point source R, search, I get those same four tags will come out. And you can also do a tag search using DataLink and any other product as well. Now, to know a current value of a tag, once we search for a tag, let's see here, I'm going to search for, So once I have a tag and I've found it, what's the current value of it? Well, you can right-click and you can click on time series data, and it will show you, a dialog will come up with the current values of this tag. So this is the last month's worth of tag, and this view isn't intended to be it's mostly intended to be a diagnostic tool. Like, is this tag getting data? Is it working as I expect it to? And you can scroll through and you can see all the points of data for this tag, when it was recorded, what the value was. Now, the last thing I'm going to show is how to connect to a Pi server. So Pi servers are a component of Pi systems, and they're one of the more they're the classic way, and they're what stores Pi tags. So you can do that by opening up another program, which is called, in the Pi system, Pi SDK Utility. Now this utility is kind of an administrative view. It's intended to work with your connections to Pi systems and do diagnosis. So you'd only really be using this if you're diagnosing your connection with the Pi servers. So here, first off, you have a list of Pi servers that are known to you. Maybe you have nothing in this list. By default, whatever server you wrote in when you installed Pi software, it asks for a default server, that will be added to this list. I have pipes here, and if I check mark it, if you click a check mark, you'll see your credentials. If text fills out in here, you know that you connected, and you can see here, connected user, I'm connected as my name, and then it shows me what credentials I have on that Pi system. So Pi admins, Pi user, and Pi world. So I probably have permissions on that server. And similarly, I can connect a different server, and it will show me the connections I have to that server. This time I have Pi demo, so I have less connection, less privileges on this server. And maybe you can't connect to a server, so I'm going to attempt to connect to this one. Well, it might just hang while it attempts to connect, and then you'll get a failed. So Walnut is not on the network that I'm on right now, so I can't connect to it. Or maybe you have some kind of security problem. If you know that this server is correct, but you can't connect to it, you might ask your Pi administrator, because there might be some security configuration that needs to be done on the server itself for you to connect. All right, those are the basics of connecting to a Pi system. We saw how to connect to a Pi AF system and also to a Pi server. And we looked at tags and, let's see here. We looked at tags and assets and attributes. There we go. And once you're connected and once everything's working, you'll continue to be able to connect so long as no configuration changes on the server or on your machine. If IP addresses change or if the name of a machine changes, it's likely that you might have to reconfigure your connection to a Pi system.